Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Footprints. I'm your host, Anthony Davis. I'm an educator at BHS, that's of Beverly High School, for those folks who don't know. And joining me today on the program, on the show, is a man who has taken the business of basketball to another level. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show, Ted Cottrell. Thank you, Ted, for hanging out with us today.
No, thank you for having me.
Oh,
Wonderful opportunity.
It's my pleasure. You know, Ted, I'm going to ask you something right off the bat, and I usually ask this of all my guests. Tell us something about you that nobody knows. Something it could be kind of quirky, kind of funny. It doesn't matter what it is. Tell us something that nobody knows about Ted.
No one knows about Ted.
Something.
Ted recently, myself, I recently taken up pickleball.
Oh, okay.
I like to.
All right. You must be the tallest pickleball player that they have there.
Yeah, usually not many people my size on the court with me.
I can see that. I can see that. And Ted, how tall are you?
6'9".
6'9". Let's talk a little bit about you as a person, and then we're going to get to that 6'9" and Umass and all of that. For you, your objective was to sort of create a safe environment and a coaching environment, encouraging kids, which is always good. That's what I try to do as well, on and off the basketball court. All right. You like to care and nurture and develop kids just like me. And what you do, you try to value all of those things. You embody those things in your coaching just like me. Ladies and gentlemen, this is an accomplished coach, an accomplished guy. Most recently, he was a coach at Danvers High School, JV boys head coach. At Bishop Fenwick High School, he was also the freshman boys head coach and developed a lot of young talent there. He then went to, well, before that, he was at Melrose Recreation Department. Now, this is interesting because youth basketball is now big. And, of course, AAU, I always see you in the AAU games. And I'm an AAU coach just like you. But most notably, Ted developed something called Universal Basketball Training, which was his own business. And he kind of does that a little bit out of Danvers Indoor Sports. Tell us a little bit about what went into that development, Ted, and why the name and all of that.
Well, Universal Basketball Training is for everyone. It's not just for one group, for one AAU team. It's not for just one person, not for one town. So it's universal. The way that I train backwards. So by training backwards, it helps people learn each step along the way. So it's universal for every position, big or small. I may go at it a different way, but it's still the same format.
I see.
That I use.
I like that. You're right. Universal encompasses a little bit of everything, and that's why you chose that name. I kind of love that. Let's think about you as a coach too. What do you look for in certain players in terms of when you're coaching? What is the biggest thing you kind of look for?
I look for who they are, what they are. You coach so many kids throughout the year or a season. They all have different names, and what I tell them is, I may not know your name right off the bat, but what I'm trying to figure out or get to know is who you are and what you are, how I can best serve you to be able to help develop your game. So I look for who and what they are.
Okay, I like that. So having said that, you as a player, how did you develop? And tell us a little bit about your experience playing at Umass Amherst for Coach Calipari.
Playing for Coach, I learned a lot. It's kind of like the end part of my scholastic playing career. One thing that a lot of people may not know is that I experienced 10 straight years of championship from 7 to 6 year. I was on a scholastic championship team.
Nice.
That being said, I was able to learn the habits of success on being on a team to be able to win a championship. For each team, I had a different role. So me as a coach, I think it's special because I've experienced every single seat that you could possibly sit on that bench, from being known top 300 in the country, because I went to the Nike ABCD camp. 100 kids are invited to go.
Yeah.
I experienced that, to now being at Umass, playing with the number 2 draft pick in the world and waiting my time and trying to develop my game to be able to fit what they needed at that time.
Right.
At UMass, one of the things that I cherished, of course, I got was most improved player, where coach set out a challenge. I went home that summer. It was the one summer that he let us go home, because usually we stayed there during the summertime all year round. We work, take classes, and work out for the next year. But he let us go home, and I went home. I changed my game, got bigger, faster, to have a difference, to have an impact once I came back as an individual, to be able to help the team.
I see. So that's really important, to be adaptable, right, as far as a player goes, because you don't want to pigeonhole yourself into just being able to do one specific thing well. You want to be able to be adaptable and be able to do many things well on the court, so that you can stay on the court and help your team, whatever success, however that looks, whatever that looks like, you know. I think that's really important. All right, but here's the real question. Have you ever had to fake an injury to get out of running suicides?
Oh, no.
That's the real question.
Never faked injury to get out of running suicides. So for suicides at UMass in preseason, what they do is they bring you in first thing in the morning. You got to run 20 suicides in 20 minutes, and each suicide is timed.
Oh, my.
So it may be 20 minutes, but you might have 35 seconds, 45 seconds to be able to complete it, and you start on every minute. And I use that to today with the players, to be able to prepare them to be able to win. So besides getting conditioning, and there's also challenging them with overcoming the adversity of next minute I got to run.
Yeah.
Where is it going to come from? I got to find it. I got to go.
No doubt. So what I try to do as a coach is change the mindset of my players that I coach. So a lot of coaches call them suicides. I don't call them that. I call them victories. And the reason why is because you're preparing yourself for victory. You're not trying to kill yourself, even though you're doing that physically while you're running. So for me, I always try to change the mindset of my players a little bit. That's just something that I try to do. Not every coach does that. And not every coach is like going to coddle players. Not every coach is going to yell at players. Everybody has their own style. But for me, that's what I try to do. Now, this is another question. What's the earliest you've ever made someone sort of throw up in a workout that you've had?
Tryouts.
And were you proud of it?
Just meeting tryouts.
So the tryouts?
Just it's time to go.
It's time to go, yeah.
And they didn't prepare themselves for what they wanted to have. And when you don't prepare yourself for what you're wanting to have, there's certain outcomes that may happen. You never know what might happen. Yeah,
that's true. So I noticed in your bio something very interesting. You coached at the 5-star camp back in 2000 to 2004 in Yonkers, New York, which is interesting. And ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who don't know, that is a high-profile camp. And some of the alum from that camp, Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Kyrie Irving, Grant Hill, Chris Paul, Dwayne Wade, and Kevin Durant. So take me through a little bit of that when you're coaching there and at the 5-star camp and you're seeing all these top recruits come in. What's the mindset as a coach as you see these players come in?
So one of their models is teaching never stops. From the time you get up in the morning, one of my favorite things about coaching there was in the morning time, they'll play old school music to wake you up. And then you started your day with stretching, go to breakfast. So it was constantly all day long. And you saw wonderful talent there, talent that you knew that was going D1 or eventually going to end up in BA.
Right.
So that was when I kind of first started coaching, right after college. I was a resident coach, so every camp that they had in different areas, they would send me to. They knew that I'll be able to work the camp, and it was a great experience, a great learning experience, and meeting different coaches, college coaches.
No question. So I'm very privileged and honored to be coaching at Pingree School. I coach with Steve Gibbs, and Steve has a number of connections in the industry. And I've met a bunch of college coaches, and most notably Mr. Gibbs, Steve Gibbs, Coach Gibbs, has a connection with Jim Calhoun, and they've been connected somewhat through basketball for quite a while, and it's nice to see that connection grow. All right, here's a couple of quick hitters for you. Okay, best basketball sneaker of all time. Best one
All time?
of all time.
It has to be a Jordan.
It's gonna be a Jordan. I don't know, man. I started balling in like Converse canvas sneakers.
I never bought in canvas. I never bought in Converse. Well, I did actually. My high school, we used the weapon.
Oh yes, the Converse weapons for sure. Magic Johnson and Larry Bird had a commercial.
Yes, they did. East and West. For me in high school, it was the Adidas Forum.
Oh yeah.
So funny stories when it was Nike ABCD camp, and it was the forces they were having us wear at the time, but I just didn't feel right.
Right.
So I'm at the Nike camp wearing Adidas. I'm like, I had to switch my shoes so I can
like, hey, what is
perform
this guy
how
doing?
I needed to perform. So they allowed me to wear my forms there because they just fit my feet at the time. So for high school, it was the forms.
It was a form, huh? All right, I like that. What's one thing that drives you nuts in the gym besides double rims?
Double rim. Oh man, it drives me nuts.
Yes.
Early morning. I'm sure you never heard this one before. Early mornings, or when the gym is really quiet, the footsteps on the wood floor.
Okay.
That for some reason I just don't like that. That quiet.
The gym's all quiet all of a sudden.
The quiet footsteps.
Okay. All right. Speaking of footsteps, what did your parents do for a living, and how did that influence what you're doing right now in terms of your career?
Huge impact on who I am and how I approach coaching. My parents. My dad worked for the state. He was a manager of insurance billing at the supply area. That's what he did. My mom was a teacher, big teacher.
Hey, shout out to teachers.
In Maryland. I'm actually from Annapolis, Maryland. A lot of people think I'm from Massachusetts, but I'm from Annapolis, Maryland. There she was a leader in the teacher community. They had something called TAC, where the teachers get together, kind of like your union, I guess it is. And she was one of the bigger teachers in Maryland. So the way my parents, what I watched and experienced, my dad's a huge tennis player. So growing up, watching him playing tennis, he won a lot. And he used to win against younger kids a lot too. And his drive to win, I watched. And I have that drive to win and to be able to be the best at that craft that you're doing. My mom being a teacher and an educator, watching how she handled a classroom and handled the relationships in the classroom, and how people respected my mom and my dad in the community. Huge in the church. That every Sunday, I think I spent more time during the course of a week in church with my parents, because my mom was the head of the diocese, the educational part for education, Christian education.
So huge footprints on you that your parents left.
Oh, huge.
In terms of how you now approach your career and what you do for a living, right?
On an everyday basis.
Yeah, it's amazing how that happens, right? And for us, me especially as an educator, my dad was in education, and so that left an imprint on me, not knowing that I was going to be a teacher, but he knew. And so as we go through this journey that we have, we meet people every day in our lives. And like I said earlier, good, bad, or indifferent, they'll leave a footprint on us, or they'll leave an impression on us. And how do we take that? How do we carry it forward? How do we move that forward? Like sometimes someone might leave a footprint on you that's not so good, because maybe they're having a bad day, right? And so how do we carry that forward? And I always say that smile, that high, that high five, that fist bump, that always can motivate somebody or get them over the hump sometimes, because we never know what they're dealing with, right? Everybody has an issue that they're dealing with. So we want to make sure that we provide those particular things for them. At least I'm always the type of guy that pays it forward in terms of empathy and cup half full and all of that. So, and that comes from my parents as well. Now, what's more important, crossover or character? And can you teach both with cones? He's like, oh, wait a minute, what?
Crossover or character?
Yeah, which is more important to you?
The character.
Okay, and why? Why would you say character of a player is more important? Because everybody can have talent, but what is it that they do when they're not playing basketball?
With the character, that's one of the elements of building a championship team. Mm-hmm. To be able to work with someone else, be able to have, like you said, empathy for another person. So if, as I said, I had a chance to be in every seat. Mm-hmm. So if I happen to be the best player on the team, right, how do I deal with the in person? How do I make him better? Mm-hmm. Right? Or if I am the in person on the team, how do I stay up and try to help the top get better?
Right.
And to be able to do that, you have to have a certain characteristic. You have to have good character.
Absolutely.
To do that. And
without a doubt,
teaching a crossover, you can always do that repetition. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But the first ingredient, I prefer to have good character.
No question. You know, I always think about, when you talk about character, I think about my coaches when I was coming up playing high school and college basketball, right? I played a little semi-pro, lucky to play for the Bay State Bombardiers. They played out of Northeastern University. So for me, I always think about their philosophy and what they wanted to teach us, not just through basketball, but also off the court. Like my high school coach was more concerned about what I was as an individual person as opposed to my skill on the court. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, I scored 1,527 points in my high school career, no three-point line. Not that I'm bragging, but I did that. But my high school coach was more concerned with what type of guy are you off the court? How do you treat other people? He was more concerned with that. And I think as an educator, that's the type of stuff that I'm concerned with too. Even as a coach, I try to bring those same elements to my coaching that I would bring to my classroom, because coaching and teaching are synonymous with each other. They're very, very similar. What's one basketball drill you made up that sounds legit but was just like, you know, just to keep kids kind of busy, like for the first 20 minutes or so?
Well, all my drills, they all are stacking blocks for their fundamental skills. Mm-hmm. So it may seem simple of what we're doing at the time, but when you go back when you go to the end, you're always going back to the beginning to be able to have that building block.
No question.
Just a simple dribbling up and down the floor, right hand, left hand. It seems as though just keeping them busy, but I do it with time. Trying to get 11 full court, down and back equaling 1. And what that's doing to them is when you first get into a game, and you get that little burning in your chest.
Oh, yeah.
When you try and get full out effort, just to be able to train your lungs to be able to now perform when you needed to perform as soon as you get in the game. But yet they're drilling back and forth. It may seem like nothing, but they're doing it on time and with a task to be done.
Absolutely, without a doubt. I think that's important to really get that, really, that sense of, I really have to get this done, and how can I fight through that, a little bit of that adversity that my body's feeling, right? Because I'm running so much, or I'm out of breath and I'm tired and I don't know if I can get back on defense, or right? But then you do it all of a sudden. You do that one more, and now you know you can. And so as that adversity sort of dissipates and goes away, you become more confident as a player, and you go and you usually put forth your best effort. What's the one thing you want every player you've ever coached to say about you when they make it big, or at least when they make a decent layup in the rec league?
Well, for just as a coach, I try to keep in mind that I'm a part of their story and their chapter. As you know, we coach AAU, and they may stay in your program, they may not, but hopefully I gave them a building block and that confidence to be able to do better and to continue to develop. Yeah. And when they look back, they could see where it came from.
Oh, no question. I think that's important. When you have a player that you're developing and their skills are sort of subpar, and all of a sudden the light bulb goes on and they get it, and you see exactly how it transpires into not only just a drill but then a game, that's a proud coach moment. I know for me, in fact, that's one of the best things that I could ever think of, doing for a player of mine, is being able to translate what we're doing in skill work into the game. And now that player has that confidence to go out and compete, which is what we love.
It's really wonderful to see that when it connects, and they connect the dot, and they're really performing at a high level. And you really didn't think that they'll be able to do it, and then they keep working at it, and all of a sudden you see it in the games. It's like I'm experiencing that now, where
no question,
where they're now they're getting it.
So, if you could coach or train any fictional player, that including like say Jesus Shuttlesworth or Teen Wolf, any fictional player, who's getting the Ted Cottrell basketball treatment? Who's getting that experience?
Who's getting that experience? Any fictional?
Fictional. It could even be like, let's say, Coach Carter, something like that. Anything like that.
Don't remember the character's name off of Coach Carter, but the one that he was always saying, "What is your biggest fear?" Yeah. And
then he stood up and said what it was.
He said what it was. Yeah. Of being able to have your light shine. So that's basically what I do, is be able to find what is that kid's fear and be able to attack it. Yeah. And that's just, the fear is not knowing what to do, when to do it, how to do it. Yeah. And to be able to teach them that. And then even the ones that are very good, let them know that it's okay to be good. Right. Because when you're good, it allows other people to look at you and want to be that way too. Exactly.
And it's funny that you said that, because a lot of times kids get a little bit embarrassed about, oh, I'm really good, and I don't want to show that I'm that good. But you let their light shine as a coach, and you bring that out in them, and they feel confident enough to let the light shine on the court. And believe me, they bring kids along with them when that happens. I love this part of this. Is called a little daily wisdom here on Footprints, and I'm going to share this with you. Some people say that's not my job. I don't want to do that. It's not my job. Well, this is a story about 4 people named everybody, somebody, anybody, and nobody. Right? There was an important job to be done, and everybody was sure that somebody would do it. anybody could have done it, but nobody did it. Somebody got angry about that because it was everybody's job. Now, everybody thought anybody could do it, but nobody realized that everybody wouldn't do it. So it ended up that everybody blamed somebody when nobody did what anybody could have done. Think about that for a minute. And that's really, really important when you're talking about words of wisdom and imparting those to our kids that we coach and also in the classroom. And I think that for me, as an educator and a coach, it's a beautiful thing when, even in the classroom, when the kid gets the concept that we're trying to teach. It's awesome to see that, I had a hand in that. I'm actually leaving a footprint on that student or that kid, you know what I mean? By coaching and by teaching them. And it's a wonderful thing. I love to do it. I know you're married. How long?
It'll be 24 years this year.
24 years. Wow. Any kids?
3 kids.
3 kids?
Boy, girl, boy.
Boy, girl, boy. And oldest is? How old is your oldest?
22.
22.
I'll be 23 this year. Yeah.
Wow. My oldest is going to be 40, so that tells us a little something about me. I got 7 kids. And do you have any pets, sir?
We do. We have 3. We have a dog and 2 cats. No, actually 3 cats.
A dog and 3 cats. Yeah. That's a busy house.
It is.
So what we did is, me and my wife, we got a puppy because my daughter, she had purebred Shih Tzu puppies. So we ended up getting one. Okay. And his name is Bear. It's awesome. Like, he walks around like a little bear, has no tail. It's pretty cool. Yeah, we enjoy that. Any hobbies besides basketball?
Just the pickleball right now.
Just the pickleball?
Trying to
Pickleball's good.
Yeah.
We enjoy that. So now, if money were no object, where would you like to take your lovely wife on vacation? If money were no object, where would you go?
Probably Greece. She always talked about going to Greece.
See, I've never been overseas.
I
haven't.
Or possibly the Azores, her family.
I'd like to go to Dubai, maybe.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind going there. Seems like it would be kind of cool. They got one of the tallest buildings over there. All right, I'd love to do that. Final question for you, sir. I'm thinking about this one. If you could have dinner or lunch with anybody, famous athlete, dead or alive, doesn't matter who it is, who would it be and why?
Dinner, to be able to pick their brain. That's a tough one. There's so many out there.
So many good ones. So many good ones. There really is. It is a tough question, but that's why I asked it.
I can't pin down the name of one person off the top of my head right now.
I'll tell you who mine would be.
Who's that?
I said Kobe Bryant a couple of times, which I know, but I was watching the Celtics documentary, and I'd love to have dinner with Len Bias. That's the guy I would love to have dinner with, right? Everybody says, oh, what could have been? What could have been? And we know for a fact that he was a dynamic basketball player from Maryland, in Maryland.
He was, yeah.
And we don't really know anything about the story after that. Right, we don't know the type of people he hung around with and all that, but I would sit down with him and ask him, like, why? Before that fated day, you have everything you need. You've achieved everything in life, almost, and you're right on the doorstep of superstardom and fame. How did you get here and why and who drove you to do that? And then, obviously, he probably wouldn't make that fatal mistake. But he's the guy I would want to sit and just have a conversation with when he was in high school and college and just find out, what was your dream? What did you want to do? What did you want to become? Did you always want to be this basketball player? Or did you want to be something different? You know what I mean? Because I think a lot of times we get caught up in athletics and music and all of that. And we have, I think, students of color can become doctors, lawyers, whatever. My mom was a respiratory therapist for 35 years at New England Baptist Hospital. You know what I mean? So there are other different careers that they can go into. So I just would want to know, did he have anything else that he was going to do besides basketball? You know what I mean? I would want to know that from him directly. So I stumped Ted. I stumped him. That was good. I stumped him. I didn't think I could do that.
You did.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I see by the clock on the wall, it's time for us to go. And Ted, thank you very much for hanging out with us here today on Footprints. Ladies and gentlemen, don't forget to get us on all your streaming services, Spotify, I don't know, Podbean, and you'll find them. We're there. Check us out on Channel 22 as well. And ladies and gentlemen, I always leave you with this question, but I'm going to leave you with two. Who left a footprint on you, and how are you moving it forward in your life? I'll see you next time. Thanks. Bye-bye.